Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a major detour, really, away from the usual digital disruption and all of that. We're diving straight into the heavy metal, greasy reality of what it actually takes to build a long-term global empire. We are talking about Toyota. When you look at the landscape of global business, most people talk about marketing campaigns or product design, but Toyota's sheer competitive advantage was forged in the factory. It's arguably the single most important real-world case study for understanding operations management.
I'd agree with that completely.
We've got a stack of fascinating business case study notes here, and our mission is simple: to synthesize the operational and, well, the cultural principles that allowed Toyota to build this competitive moat over decades. This wasn't built through fleeting trends. It was built through brutal, continuous production efficiency.
The core philosophy.
Exactly. We're going for the core philosophy that makes them an industrial powerhouse. Okay, so let's unpack this. The entire structure, the absolute foundation of their success, which went on to reshape global manufacturing, lies in a simple yet revolutionary idea: lean production.
And lean is really the accessible word for what they call the Toyota Production System, or TPS. But it's so much more than a process. It's a deeply rooted philosophy. The core mandate, the driving obsession, is the total elimination of waste to maximize customer value.
I think we need to be really specific about what Toyota means by waste, because most people hear that and they think, scrap metal or physical garbage. But our sources classify waste far more strategically.
Absolutely. They formalize this concept under MUDA, which, it literally translates to futility or wastefulness. And when they look at their processes, they are hunting down 7 specific categories of waste. Things like defects, unnecessary motion, waiting. But the big ones, the really damaging ones, are overproduction, making things before they are needed, and excess inventory.
So it's about anything that doesn't add value for the customer.
Exactly. What Toyota realized was that if they could redesign manufacturing so that every single process adds value and nothing is produced unless it's actually required, well, they could radically redefine efficiency. It's an obsessive quest for perfection through subtraction.
That brings us immediately to the most famous pillar of lean, just-in-time production, JIT. We all sort of know the textbook definition: producing only what is needed when it is needed. But what does that actually mean on the factory floor?
It means moving from a push system to a pull system. In a traditional system, you forecast demand, you produce huge batches, and you just push them down the supply chain. And that builds up these massive, expensive buffers of inventory all along the way.
Which is waste.
A huge source of waste. JIT is the opposite. It's a pull system, triggered by actual customer demand. Nothing is built until the customer orders the car. And that order literally pulls parts through the system, step by step. This keeps inventory levels extremely low, which slashes storage costs and frees up huge amounts of capital.
But wait, if you're keeping inventory that low, doesn't that inherently expose you to
The massive risk.
Yes.
That's the strategic trade-off.
Right. If you don't have buffer stock, what happens when something breaks?
That's where the genius lies, but it's also the vulnerability. Our notes highlight this famous analogy. JIT is like lowering the water to expose the rocks.
Okay.
The water is your inventory. When the water level is high, you just float safely over all the operational problems, the defective machines, the inefficient processes, the rocks. When you implement JIT, you force that inventory level down. And now the process stops whenever you hit a rock.
Which sounds painful.
It is painful, but it forces immediate attention and a permanent solution to the flaw. So JIT isn't just about cost cutting. It's a mandated system for continuous problem identification.
That makes perfect sense philosophically, but we've all seen the downside of this in the last few years. The source materials specifically cite how these tight supply chains made them so susceptible to global shocks. The semiconductor shortage, for instance.
Oh, for sure. They were certainly hit, arguably harder than some rivals who held more inventory. The sources indicate that post-crisis, Toyota had to invest heavily in diversification, both geographically and with multiple suppliers. And they also began selectively stocking certain high-risk components like semiconductors, which, would have previously violated strict JIT principles.
So even the best system has to adapt.
Exactly. It proves that even the most rigorous system must adapt to global volatility.
That structural vulnerability, then, makes the next pillar of their success just non-negotiable: continuous improvement, or Kaizen. And this isn't just about tweaking a spreadsheet. The source stresses this is a permanent organizational culture.
That culture is like the immune system of the company. Kaizen means change for the better. And the real power here is how it democratizes improvement. Staff at all levels are not just encouraged, but they're actively expected to identify inefficiencies, suggest improvements, and challenge existing standards.
So it's the people closest to the work who are finding the solutions.
Always. It's a system where everyone is an inventor and a problem solver, not just an operator. That perpetual learning is what sustains the competitive edge.
A system that captures thousands of small compound improvements every single year.
Exactly. Not just waiting for the big breakthroughs.
Okay, moving from process flow to product output, we have to talk about quality control. Toyota's reputation for reliability is,
Hmm.
it's legendary. What's the specific operational detail from the sources that underpins this?
We're talking about Jidoka. It's often translated as automation with a human touch.
Hmm.
And the core empowering detail here is, it's radical. Workers are authorized and mandated to stop production lines immediately if any defect or problem is detected.
The entire line.
The entire line. Think about the level of trust and strategic commitment that requires to give a worker on the floor the power to halt millions of dollars of machinery.
That's a massive financial risk in the short term.
It is, but the strategic payoff is enormous. By stopping the line, you ensure that faults are corrected right at the source the moment they happen. This prevents defects from ever being passed downstream. It's a zero-tolerance approach to quality, and it's why their cars are known for durability.
And that philosophy of long-term partnership seems to extend outward into their supply chain strategy. Most companies today treat suppliers as purely transactional. You chase the lowest bid, you switch whenever you can save a few cents. Toyota just doesn't do that.
No, they deliberately cultivate long-term, highly integrated partnerships. It often looks more like a corporate family, a keiretsu, than a standard vendor-client relationship. They're building trust over decades.
And the outcome of that relationship is what's really fascinating.
The outcome is systemic efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Because Toyota treats key suppliers as deep partners, they actively help those suppliers adopt Toyota's own lean principles and quality control. So they're extending their efficiency and quality culture across the entire supply chain. They're building an ecosystem.
An ecosystem of synchronized efficiency. Wow, that's a monumental advantage. Which leads perfectly into their globalization perspective. The sources position Toyota as a textbook example of global manufacturing combined with local assembly, a transnational strategy. They design vehicles using global platforms for efficiency, like the TNGA platform, but then they meticulously adapt those products for regional markets.
And this transnational strategy is a bit of a tightrope walk. You're balancing global efficiency with local responsiveness. Our notes list 4 specific advantages to this, and they're all about mitigating risk and cost.
Okay, what are they?
First, they drastically reduce transport costs by building where they sell. Second, by localizing assembly, they get around tariffs and trade barriers, makes them less vulnerable to political fights. Third, they can respond much faster to local demand. Why North America wants trucks and Europe wants compacts. And fourth, they create political goodwill through job creation in every market. It's an incredibly resilient playbook.
So here's where it gets really interesting. Let's shift to their competitive positioning, because they're not just relying on manufacturing, they employ a hybrid strategy, combining that massive cost advantage from lean with aggressive product differentiation.
Right, the product range is just enormous.
It is. They operate at virtually every market level, from affordable entry-level models all the way up to the high-margin premium Lexus brand. This allows them to capture multiple consumer segments and spread their risk.
And that product breadth sustains their pricing strategy, which is fundamentally value-based. Toyota is rarely the absolute cheapest car you can buy, but our analysis shows their perceived value is exceptionally high, driven by quality, reliability, and low total cost of ownership.
So they don't have to get into price wars.
Exactly. They sustain high sales volumes without engaging in those destructive, margin-killing price wars that plague so many of their competitors. Their efficiency gives them flexibility.
They also seem to have a unique approach to the product lifecycle. A lot of manufacturers let models age out quickly. Toyota, not so much.
No, they continually update and refresh successful models, adding new engine tech, safety upgrades, digital features. It's an iterative improvement, and it's a deliberate strategy to extend the maturity stage of their existing models, keeping them competitive for much longer.
And the final strategic layer of differentiation is innovation. We have to highlight their early leadership in hybrid vehicle technology.
Oh, absolutely. The Prius. The launch of the Toyota Prius was a calculated strategic risk. It positioned them as an environmentally responsible innovator long before others were forced to act. It's a clear case study of a first-mover advantage. They built deep expertise and brand association in hybrids that competitors are still trying to replicate.
But the world they operate in is changing incredibly fast. I
Uh-huh.
mean, they're in a highly competitive global oligopoly. They're facing the traditional car manufacturers, but also nimble EV startups and, incredibly aggressive Chinese and Korean automakers.
Yep. The battleground is vast. Competition is based on everything: price, innovation, fuel efficiency, safety, brand reputation,
Yep.
all of it.
They have to be excellent on all fronts all the time.
And this brings us back to resilience. Perfect operations don't eliminate external risk. The case study chronicles their challenges: high-profile recalls, supply chain disruptions, rising material costs, and crucially, the lightning-fast market shift toward full electric vehicles. These risks force heavy, continuous investment just to stay viable.
And what helps them fund that transformation is their financial strategy, their high global sales volumes, and that underlying operational efficiency allow for remarkably stable long-term cash flows.
A strong balance sheet.
And this is the critical financial takeaway from Lean. The system allows them to stay profitable, even during deep economic downturns when demand falls. They're just structurally more resilient than less efficient rivals.
Because there's less waste in their cost structure to begin with.
So what does this all mean? The central strategic lesson from this whole case study is that operational excellence is not a short-term fix. It is a long-term, non-negotiable cultural philosophy. It's what you do every single day, forever.
Exactly. When efficiency, quality control judoka, and continuous improvement Kaizen are deeply embedded in the culture, sustainable global leadership becomes possible. They proved, I think unequivocally, that manufacturing excellence itself is the most powerful competitive weapon in the industrial world.
So, to recap the key concepts you should take away today, think lean production and the aggressive elimination of waste. Remember JIT, the pull system that lowers the water to expose the rocks. Internalize that Kaizen culture, the power of long-term supplier partnerships, and the resilience of their transnational strategy.
But as you look ahead, I think you should consider the fundamental tension that's going to define their future. Toyota places a strong emphasis on corporate social responsibility and sustainability. Yet the notes show they are caught between maintaining profitability, adhering to environmental regulation, and meeting sustained consumer demand for larger, less efficient vehicles, especially in high-profit markets.
The truck and SUV market? Yeah.
So if lean production is fundamentally about eliminating waste, how will this central tension, this tightrope walk between short-term profit, planetary demands, and what consumers want, how will that force Toyota to redefine what waste even means in their philosophy moving forward? It's the challenge that will test the very foundations of the lean system in the next decade.